What's going on, guys? Today we're going to talk about something that you need to do if you want to start your own business. And this is for you to get good at selling whatever you're selling. Now, one of the things that happens is people run from selling. Go on YouTube and look up for videos like how to sell, and these videos have way less views than an NFL game. And if an NFL game could play, and 6 hours later, this video would have hundreds of thousands of views, in some cases millions of views, and you would have videos on YouTube that have been on YouTube for 6, 7, 8 years. They may have 1,000, 1,500 views. And why is this? Let's talk about it. People do not want to sell. People do not want to exercise the energy, the enthusiasm, the framework of selling a product. They simply don't want to do it because it's work. It's really work. When I was selling stuff in my whole little arena, I had to work really hard to learn how to sell, because here's the thing. There is not one stage to selling. There's multiple stages to selling. First stage, who's your audience? Who's your target customer? You've got to know that really well. If I was a girl, I would be selling products that get custom designed for women, 100% custom designed for women. Because one of the things that's going to happen is you're going to have some insights, some intimate knowledge of what this woman wants. So it's going to make it easier for you to sell. But that's the first thing. Who are you selling to? Who are you selling to? Who's going to buy your product? Right now, this is something that has gotten kind of crazy. The number of people who are trying to sell cars. Here's your audience. Anyone that needs a car is a target member of your audience, right? But this is something that's really strange that's happening right now. Car prices have gotten really high. Loans have gotten really expensive with a higher interest rate. And I have no clue what's going to happen to the car market. I do have a few guesses that at some point the automakers are going to have to realize that people cannot afford their products. And this is something that you must put out there, because when I was selling commercial office furniture, I had a bunch of people who could not afford my product. They simply did not have the money to buy my product. They just didn't have it. And one of the things that I had to understand is I had to go after a better target, a better client with the money to afford my products. And like right now, you have a lot of people who are struggling to sell because their products are too expensive for the common man. And the common man makes up the majority of the market. So as a salesperson, you must have some wisdom and insights to what your customer can afford. This is why a clothing brand by the name of Shine, they're out of China. They sell really cheap stuff. And literally, you would find a girl who may have 100 pieces of Shine, whatever it's called. And because they have an understanding of who their customer is. And this is one of the things that you must do in learning how to become good at sales. You must have an understanding of who your customer is. And once you get that, that's the first thing. You get the understanding of who your customer is. Then you need to actually get some wisdom and insights from your customer base. You need to actually talk to people who are in your customer base on a one-on-one perspective, not trying to sell them anything. It's just like, hey, I have a few questions. I have a few things I want to ask you. There's a few things we want to sort out, right? And one of the things that you will do is find out very well where your customer is. You will have some data, you will have some insights, you will know where your customer is. And one of the things that I did when I was doing some online advertising was I asked people, could they afford my product, which is a very harsh, rude, real thing. But what I found out is the majority of these people could not afford my product. So it made absolutely no sense to get on a sales call with these people because they didn't have the financial means to buy what I was selling. And this is one of the things that you have to do. And this is another book, because once again, sales is stages. First stage, who's the audience, who's the customer? How do you talk to that customer? And then number 3, the sales pitch. And this is really, really important. Does the customer need your product? This is huge. Does the customer has a valid use for your product? I'm going to get into something else in a minute, but from an ethical standpoint of selling stuff, you got to put yourself in that position. Do they need your product? Can they afford your product? Do they have a valid need for your product? Are they in the position to buy your product? Are they in the position to afford your product? Now, this is where things get a little different. Back when I was a kid, there was this thing that came in on television called the pet rock. Yes, the pet rock. You could literally go out in your yard, look around in the ground, pull up a rock, and you would have a comparable product for free. But the pet rock made millions of dollars because of a very slick and sophisticated marketing campaign. So this is something else that if you're really good at marketing, you can make a lot of money selling stuff if you're really good at marketing. I'll give you something else. Right now, I don't know if it's a big craze because I'm not into stuff like that, but remember the rollerblade? The rollerblades were these things that these companies made for ice hockey players, so they can practice on the ground and stuff and not be in skates. And then this chick who worked for the company decided to put out these videos showing her people who were really big, muscular. They were out there doing the rollerblading, looking the way they were looking, and rollerblades became a national fad that lasted for many, many years. Many years. You saw people rollerblading because they were just a different kind of skate. It was a different kind of skate. And what I think is it was easier to skate on these rollerblades than it was to actually skate on traditional skates. But one of the things that you have to understand is there's a lot of stuff, and we'll be having more and more conversations about sales and how to sell stuff. Because if you start a company, you should be your best salesperson. Why should you be your best salesperson? Because when you become your best salesperson, then you can train other salespeople that you hire to sell your product. This is really, really crucial for you to be successful in your business. You must sell your product. You must put together your product. And this is something that as the leader of your business, and you know, I get a lot of people, it's like, won't you just hire someone to sell? If you don't know how to sell yourself, question, how will you hire someone to sell for you? Really, really think about that. If you don't know how to sell your product really, really well, and you're going to hire someone to sell something that you yourself don't know how to sell, how is that going to work out in the grand scheme of things? How is that going to work out? So this is something you need to learn, how to sell your product. Whatever methodology, whatever things you need to pick up, whatever things you need to do, that is a key component for you to become successful in selling your product and running your business. And sales is a learnable skill. This is something you don't have to be born knowing how to sell. This is something you can learn. This is something that I learned over a period of time through actually trying to sell and self-study. I didn't have a sales trainer or mentor. Now, I think that would have been more helpful, but I did figure out how to sell products on my own and become quite good at it. And you can do this too. So whatever company you're trying to set up, you must think of how to sell your product.